Hello and welcome to another genetically enhanced episode of This Ain't No Game. This week is an extra special episode, as in addition to being the penultimate episode in the first regular season of TANG, this also marks the last of Uwe Boll's video game oeuvre with his adaptation of Far Cry. Considering that I had to import my DVD copy of Far Cry from the UK, as it hasn't yet seen a proper US release, and the fact that it's, an Uwe Boll movie, my expectations for this movie were appropriately low. And maybe I've just had my standards for video game movies ground into a fine powder by this process, or perhaps I suffered some kind of undiagnosed head trauma, but I actually found myself intermittently entertained by Far Cry. For starters, Far Cry stays much closer to the source material than any of Boll's past films. The movie stars the intensely Germanic Til Schweiger, who you might recognize from Inglourious Basterds, as the burned-out ex-Special Forces boat captain Jack Carver, who gets his boat blown to smithereens by mercenaries while taking a lady journalist to a remote island where the insane Dr. Krieger, played here by a disappointingly restrained Udo Kier,
let's not go over the top,
is performing ethically questionable genetic experiments.
You're making brainless monsters!
The biggest departure Far Cry makes from the plot of the game is that it trades the exotic tropical island locale for an evergreen island near Vancouver, a location that I'm pretty sure Uwe Boll shot most of the first House of the Dead movie on. Actually, it's a little eerie just how similar the first half hour of House of the Dead and Far Cry are.
Promise me whales, George!
Both start off with a gruff German boat captain begrudgingly taking tourists out to an island with a dubious reputation and then getting caught up in the ensuing havoc. Something that most filmmakers would accomplish in maybe half the time, but hey, what's an Uwe Boll movie without plenty of lackadaisical pacing? Once they get to the island, the rest of the movie revolves around Carver and his new lady friend trying to get off the island and away from the mercenaries as well as Krieger's experiments. Though the simplicity of the plot means there's ample time for an awkwardly sudden romantic interlude and irritating, ill-defined, and ultimately disposable supporting characters like Krieger's icy lady lieutenant.
Any more complaints?
There are actually a couple of decent action sequences in Far Cry. Early on, there's a car chase through the woods where Carver's truck gets accidentally attached to an attacking helicopter. There's a boat chase later on that's reasonably frantic. And there's some light parkour-ish action during the film's otherwise anticlimactic final gun battle. The problem is that the downtime between these sequences can be pretty trying.
You mind if we sit? I have a feeling this is going to take a while.
There's always been a weird sense of cultural disconnect in Uwe Boll's movies, but Far Cry is easily his most prominently German video game movie yet. Aside from the fact that it's based on a video game of German origin, most of the starring roles belong to German actors. In addition to Til Schweiger and Udo Kier, there's Natalia Avalon as the nasty neck-stabbing mercenary, and the Frankensteinian Ralph Moeller as the reporter's uncle and an unwitting subject of Krieger's experiments. That's a lot of thick accents for an ostensibly North American-based movie.
let's not get carried away, please.
But my favorite character from the movie is Emilio the Food Guy, played with a top-of-his-lungs abandon by regular Uwe Boll player Chris Coppola. This guy keeps popping up in awful supporting roles in Uwe Boll's movies, usually serving as a slapsticky foil for the otherwise grim proceedings. I normally find him just as annoying as the other characters do, but with Far Cry, I'm kind of coming around. His gasping attempts at comedy often feel too desperate, but he's got a better success rate with laughs than anyone else in the movie, particularly when he's teamed with Til Schweiger. And there were a few moments where I actually chuckled at his hapless shenanigans.
I'm sitting down if I were you. You don't want the commandant to catch you. Come on.
What the hell do I care? Because of that tight ass? What, am I a soldier? Is he the boss of me? No!
Whatever, man.
Whatever, man.
Don't get me wrong. This is a movie that still carries many of the Uwe Boll trademarks of awfulness, with its tedious pacing, lingering travel sequences, and a low hit-to-miss ratio in its attempts at broad humor. But it also shows a greater level of technical competence than his previous efforts. I hate to say it, but Uwe Boll is actually getting better at this. My expanding familiarity with Uwe Boll's body of work is literally, it's killing me. inside here. But when paired with the unmistakably poisonous touch of Uwe Boll, considering the creative forces involved, my expectations for Postal weren't particularly high. This is pure Boll with ham-fisted exposition. This is either the work of a filmmaking savant or a complete psychopath. I'm not sure which is worse, watching Uwe Boll whip it on standard genre fare, or watching him screw up something with more unique potential. Alone in the Dark is everyone's favorite video game movie sadist's first attempt at making an actual movie. This week, I'm sorry to say, brings us more Uwe Boll awfulness with In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale. This week features more suffering at the hands of the video game movie's abusive, drunken stepfather, Uwe Boll, with House of the Dead. It's killing me. It's killing me. Here. That's going to do it for this week's episode of This Ain't No Game. I'm Ryan Davis, reminding me, you promised me whales, George!
They want to see whales.
Whales!